Hey, Star Wars fans, welcome to Star Wars Doctrine. I am Cody Dastrup. With me, as always, Logan Schultz.
Hola.
How you doing, man?
Great.
Great, good. All right, well, awesome. We are continuing our One Thing I Would Change series where we look at each Star Wars movie and just say if we could change one thing about it, what would we change? And now we're on Empire Strikes Back, so we've done the other four. Sorry.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, we've done the other four, so make sure you check those out. But we wanted to talk about which...
One thing we would change in Empire?
Sorry. Yeah, one thing we would change in Empire, which was kind of a hard thing to figure out.
It's perfect.
Because it's such a good movie. It's my personal favorite since I was a kid. And
also, probably my favorite too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that is definitely a hard task, but we were able to come up with some things. So I'll start it off.
Ooh.
Sound good?
I like it.
Okay. So my thing, if I could change one thing about Empire Strikes Back, ties in with Obi-Wan and Luke.
Luke Moore kissing his sister.
How do you know? If I would
more
love
makeout scenes.
some more kisses between Luke and Leia. Can you imagine just George? He's like, this is freaking funny, guys. You'll see why.
This is going to be funny
You'll
in
see
3
why.
years.
But this is hilarious. And they're just like, what? No, has to do with Obi-Wan and Luke kissing.
Yeah, that makes more sense, actually.
So Obi-Wan and Luke, one thing that I kind of don't love is that, okay, so we know there's like roughly a couple year gap, right? It's like 3 years.
About 3 years, yeah.
Between 4 and 5. And the biggest thing is that we know Luke's progressed in his training. There's some comics and some things that have happened between there. But we know he's progressed in his training, and we get to see him use the Force in the Wampa Cave. He forces the saber to him, which he couldn't have done anything like that in Episode 4.
Right. Here's a lightsaber, your father's. Bye.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? And he did reach out with the Force with the blast shield helmet and everything like that. But outside of that, okay, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience on screen. So it seems kind of weird when he sees Force Ghost Obi-Wan while he's losing his mind in the blizzard.
Right.
It kind of seems like it's the first time he's seen him since Episode 4, since he heard him speak.
Do we think that's like I feel like it's also like the first contact period, it seems like.
That's what it seems like to me. Since he heard his voice in A New Hope, it seems like he acts like that's the first time and everything.
I think it's fair.
Obi-Wan tells him to go to Dagobah, right? But it's like, okay, we know he was progressing in that 3-year period, and I personally would like to think that maybe he had heard Obi-Wan's voice and he did some training and he was able to learn through that.
In the comics, he goes back to Obi-Wan's house,
yeah,
right? But I mean, I feel like Obi-Wan would have to be like, hey, got some books back at the house.
Yeah, got some books back at the house. Some cool artifacts,
Got a holocron with me in my younger days.
Go check it out. Back when I was a little more sexy and savvy. But so I think that it would be nice to see a little bit more of that. Maybe Luke doesn't act like it's the first time he's heard him, and maybe we even get to hear Obi-Wan talk to him a little more.
Okay.
Maybe give him some tips and some pointers and stuff before he goes to Dagobah, and then maybe have him be more involved in the Dagobah training.
Right,
Because if he can be there, why not?
Yeah, I think the reveal kind of at the end on Dagobah is interesting to see. It is cool to see Obi-Wan be like, Yoda, what are you doing?
Right.
But I totally agree. It would be interesting to see way more of that.
Well, and along with that too, like you said, so Obi-Wan pretty much comes in to tell Yoda, like, hey, we need to train this guy. I wasn't any different, you know, and because Yoda's like, he's too old, too much of his father, all that stuff, right?
Obi-Wan's like, oh my gosh, you stupid frog.
He's like, come on, man, like, we've waited 19 years to do this. I sat in the blazing hot sun watching over this kid so I could bring him to you for you to train him, and now you don't want to? Like, are you kidding me?
I want the sister. No, what?
Yeah.
Dang it.
And we know that that's part of it, is that Yoda always felt that Leia should be the one to get trained, but that didn't work out that way. And so, but anyways, yeah, it'd be interesting to see more of that involvement. I do just kind of feel like it's dumb that Yoda didn't want to train him, though, in general.
How would you have Obi-Wan more involved on the training in Dagobah?
Just him being present and giving tips. Like, Yoda gives lots of wise quotes. It'd be fun to hear Obi-Wan giving lots of wise quotes as well.
Okay.
Obviously,
this
Yoda's
is why flying is for droids.
Grandmaster, yeah. Yeah, when he's telling Luke not to go, to leave, he's like, you don't want to fly.
When he crashes in the swamp.
This is why I hate flying. Flying's for droids. Yeah.
That's true, because Because Luke's like, oh, I'll keep it on manual control for a while. Biggest mistake.
Obi-Wan's just like, good man. No, but on manual control.
Yeah.
No.
So Obi-Wan's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna crash,
like,
you idiot.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know that I have any specifics exactly, but it would be very cool if he was involved a little bit more. I think that looking back, which is how cool Force Ghosts are, that'd be cool to see more of that. Now, obviously, you wouldn't want to overdo it to the point where Force Ghosts aren't like a cool, special, rare thing, because it's kind of that, you know.
There's definitely a fine line between the two. I think it'd be interesting. We do see Obi-Wan's voice comes over and encourages Yoda, like, hey, like you were saying, like, train the kid.
Yeah.
But at the end, he finally shows up and is like, Luke, before you run away. I think maybe it would be better if
it was more voice.
If Obi-Wan just showed up then, and then maybe like let Yoda do the training as the Grand Master of the Order.
Right.
But he personally convinces Yoda by like walking in and is like, bro.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not exactly sure how I would do it, but I just think that would be
more involvement.
More involvement would be awesome, especially since Obi-Wan and Yoda, this has been their calling. Right. Since the Clone Wars ended, since Revenge of the Sith, it was like, okay, this is our only goal now, because the Force is telling us that this is the next step.
Yeah,
so we gotta go hide.
It's not our job to go do this. It's our job to train the next generation, is what the Force was saying.
Right. So I would love to see them both be involved in that.
Right. Kind of shorthands Obi-Wan a bit.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, they probably weren't planning on him dying before they had the chance to train him, but
Yoda's like, you were supposed to do the first 2 years. This is your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Idiot.
So, you know, unforeseen for circumstances, but that's what I'm thinking I would change, and Fair. I'm excited to hear yours.
Well, okay, so excited to hear. We were talking about it already.
Yeah, but it's really cool.
Okay. So we were talking about, I think, maybe one of the harder parts or less exciting parts of Empire is, we call it basically the middle act. Luke goes off to Dagobah, which is interesting, very insightful, great quotes, etc.
Right.
But Han and Leia are stuck a little bit. They're running away from the Empire, but it's not like the most exciting chase anyone's ever seen.
Right.
And it's kind of a weird scene. But one of the cool tidbits in that sort of basically the end of the second act is Vader hires bounty hunters, which obviously we get to see the Empire in its heyday. This is like the Empire that's most powerful right here.
Right.
They're super powerful. Back. They're striking back, definitely. But they had gotten kind of too cocky, and now this is them coming back in full force. So it definitely seems to be like a powerful time for the Empire in general.
Yeah.
And with that, we get to see, that's our first introduction to bounty hunters, really, in the original trilogy. Like, we've never really heard of bounty hunters except for,
I guess, Greedo.
He's a terrible bounty hunter. But like, this is like kind of our first introduction that we know that Greedo's probably like a bounty hunter, smuggler kind of dude. We know there's kind of a shady world, but getting to see like 6 of the most prominent bounty hunters, like we get to see Toilet Paper Guy, Tengar. Yeah, the predecessor. We get to see IG-88, not IG-11, but who brings...
No, IG-11.
We get to see IG-11, which means we get to see IG-88. That's terribly confusing.
Terribly confusing.
We get to see Bosk, who's probably my favorite bounty hunter.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And then we get to see Boba Fett, which is clearly iconic, amazing, like the first Mandalorian we've seen.
Yeah.
So we get to see all these cool bounty hunters all being hired by the Empire, and that people kind of distrust them. It's an interesting scene, but they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Boba Fett pretends he's garbage.
Boba does the most, and all it is him tracking someone down.
He pretends he's garbage and then flies a little faster.
Yeah.
Which is cool, and it's very intelligent, and it's an interesting scene, but I think it would be cooler if we got to see the bounty hunters get into their ships or whatever, you know. The hunt happens, right? More that takes place a little bit more, where we get to see them all kind of go out, and maybe Han and Leia, instead of latching onto the Star Destroyer, they're able to pull out somewhere and kind of try and lay low in some city, trying to get parts for the Falcon. And then he's like,
they're cool.
And then he maybe turns to Bespin and Lando, but like, you know, he tries to go somewhere first, and bounty hunters ambush him there, and they quick hop on the Falcon, fly away.
Have bounty hunter scene earlier in the middle, like earlier in the second act.
Yeah, so basically kind of speed up the second act a little bit instead of maybe the space slug scene. And although I mean, the space slug is iconic, and so are Minox. But I mean, you know, maybe instead of doing a little bit so much of that, we try and land the Falcon somewhere really close and try and do some like repairs on it, something like that.
Yeah, it would definitely be fun to have that. And one thing I had mentioned is that like how cool the Mandalorian was in episode 1 when IG-88 and Mando are teaming up together to get the package, Baby Yoda, and they just like wreck, and it's like they're on the prowl, they're doing what they do best. These are some of the better bounty hunters too. So this would be like if you got to see a Bossk and Boba Fett team up,
right? Which is what we were talking about, is Bossk and Boba Fett both being biggest favorites, but they're also both seen at Jabba's palace, and both are on the barge. And Bossk most likely dies on the barge, and Boba Fett most likely in the Sarlacc pit. But kind of you could see maybe kind of a friendly competitiveness between both of them,
right?
And we know Boba Fett and Bossk have known each other for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
With the Clone Wars.
Bossk
and Bossk basically like his
it's
dad.
Like a poppy to him, yeah.
Stepdad, or I don't know.
There you go.
Adoptive dad Bossk. His weird parents, Jango Fett, Bossk, and Aurora Singh.
Yeah.
No wonder Boba Fett's messed up.
No kidding.
But it'd be interesting to see a little bit more of that. And it would kind of be a cool way to expound the underworld of Star Wars a bit.
Yeah.
And also make the bounty hunters more meaningful and speed up the second act for Han and Leia.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. I love that, and that's why I was excited to talk about yours. I think that's one of the coolest ideas.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, just the fact that like Lucas probably didn't know Boba Fett, Bossk would become like these unlikely fan favorites,
right?
You know, but it's just because they're so cool looking, you know, and so unique. And
Trandoshan is such a cool race. Like, it's so unique.
Yeah, if you look at Boba Fett's screen time and all that he did, it's like, no way would you think, okay, this is going to be one of the favorites of fans.
Right.
40 years later, whatever. However many it is. 39. But, so it's like, or I don't know how many it is. But, anywho, it's
not doing math right now.
Yeah, it's just like, obviously, he probably didn't plan on them being favorites, but looking back, like we're doing, that would be just freaking incredible. And Bossk, seeing how cool he is and fun to play in the Battlefront 2 game, right?
Right.
Like that's one of your mains.
True.
He's freaking sweet. Like,
it's just interesting to see like how much both those took off, and like I can't think of really any Star Wars game that includes some sort of heroes from the Galactic Empire setting that doesn't have a Boba Fett as a playable character.
Yeah.
Or
it's pretty
some
popular.
sort of character.
Yeah. Because people love him.
So it would be an interesting way to bring about the underworld, get Boba Fett some more screen time, and also I feel like speed up some of the pacing for Han and Leia and the gang.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because being stuck on an asteroid feels kind of weird, and also I think would help with. It could help a little bit more with Luke. You know, everyone complains that Luke wasn't trained long enough because there's no real way that we have to succinctly measure how long the time passing was, right?
Yeah. I guess you can't mention Dagobah without talking about this, but
you know, it would be cool if Han and Leia fly somewhere and try and fix the ship somewhere and then have to fly somewhere else. You know, it makes the time seem longer, so
sure
it could add to Luke's training too.
Yeah, make it feel like he trained longer than than it seems. I totally agree with that. So and like I said, it's just that's my biggest gripe in general with the Empire is that, like you said, that middle part, it just can seem kind of long sometimes.
I get that.
So I love your idea, and I love the way that you would try and solve that. That's awesome.
But that's what we would try and change, and there's clearly other things and other ways to go about it. So if you have any opinions, drop them down in the chat, and let's hear it, and maybe we can talk about some of your ideas later.
Absolutely.
But I guess till next time, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.